Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christopher, and so that's the first question out of the way. And before I get started just answering all the prompts, I just wanted to say that it's been a great opportunity to sort of peer into the thoughts of others surrounding a subject that we don't normally get a chance to talk about, and that's sexuality and the human sexual experience. And I kind of liken it to the experience that I'm having in my second year field placement, where I'm working in a hospice environment, and part of my scope of responsibility is co-facilitating for now and then eventually facilitating bereavement groups where we talk about death and dying and bereavement, and that whole experience, which is another sort of taboo subject in quote unquote normal society. So it's been a very enlightening experience to sort of peer into what others think about sexuality and, how those thoughts are conceived and how they inform our experiences throughout our lives. So and saying and likening that to a sort of a group work experience, that sort of gets me into the next question or prompt, which is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And although I have to profess that I don't know where I'm going to end up. I know it's going to be positive wherever I end up, but at this time I'm not sure sort of the avenue that I want to take to get to where I want to be. I know the population that I would like to work with, and that's the older adult population. But I don't know if that's going to be in a medical environment, like in a hospital, or a more clinical environment, a mental health facility, if I'm just going to be working with drug and rehabilitation with the older adult population, if I'm going to be working with that population. One thing that I can say, however, though, is the experiences that I enjoy, that I've been helped to figure out through my field internship experience, and that's surprisingly group work. Viewing myself as very much an introvert, I never thought that I would enjoy facilitating group discussion, but throughout both of my field internship experiences, I found that it's one of my favorite parts of both environments that I've been in. So I have a feeling that group work is going to be a very large part of what I end up doing. And in 5 years, I can very much see myself facilitating a group discussion, whether I be at a clinical practice where I am engaging primarily on an individual level and then I happen to do group work on the side, or whether it's sort of folded into my responsibilities from the onset, or if that's my primary responsibility itself. So that's where I see myself in 5 years. The ways that I envision being a sex positive social worker in those environments, and I'm speaking specifically in group environments, is just being open regarding how people choose to express their sexuality. And that's every circle of sexuality, including sexual identity. So I say that to say, or I'm getting sort of inspiration from the example that was given, where if you're in a group environment, it means like being trans inclusive. And I've actually already had the opportunity to sort of practice that skill. I don't know how well I did, but I did have the opportunity because I have led groups where individuals who identify as trans individuals have been a part of the group. And so part of that process was sort of making sure they felt comfortable and just as safe as everybody else in that group environment, because that's really big in group work, is creating a safe space that everybody feels comfortable enough to share within. And so that just includes trans individuals. So like, do they feel comfortable to share every part of themselves? If they don't, why? Is there somebody specifically in the group that they don't feel comfortable around? And how can we sort of address that conflict in a non-confrontational way to make sure that everybody feels like they have the chance to share whatever it is that they want to share? And so the way that I did that is I did it with prompts. At the beginning of each group, everybody had a prompt that they wanted to share, and everybody knew that that was their specific time to share and that they had to respect what everybody else wanted to share. Additionally, with pronouns, which is a big subject that we went over, I always felt it important to address the individual as their pronoun, not their chosen pronoun, but their pronoun, what they identify as. And so if it was a trans man, I would address him as he, which is natural. That's how he identifies. And then also in the notes, in the DAP notes, the data assessment and planning notes that I completed after every group, he was addressed as he, which is how he identifies. So that's another way that a social worker can be sex positive in that particular environment. It's addressing and identifying individuals in the ways that he or she would like to be identified. And then it goes a step further when you're doing like intake or on any forms outside of DAP notes. If that individual identifies as a male and they happen to biologically be a female, we can identify them as male. And in a lot of agencies, well, at least in the two that I have been a part of, I noticed that there is a space specifically for that. Right now, it's preferred pronouns and preferred names, which is not the most inclusive approach, in my opinion. If an individual identifies as a male or a female, then that should be their pronoun and their what do you call it, the prefix for their first and last name. Um, that's not how it currently is, though. So perhaps that can change, and the social worker can act as an advocate for changes in the systemic changes that sort of support that inclusivity. Um, Additionally, I've been hearing a lot about the fact that some people don't identify as either gender, so neither male or female, and so a third gender option would be X, and they're doing that on some driver's licenses in the area that I'm in, and so that's another way to be inclusive of not only those who identify as either male or female, but recognizing that it's not sort of a dichotomy; it's more of a spectrum, and so if you don't identify as either, then your gender is X. And so those are some of the ways that I can see a social worker attempting to make their environment more sex positive and then being more sex positive themselves in that specific type of environment. For the last prompt, to answer that question, my remaining burning question is just how everybody truly feels about respecting sexual choices and sexual boundaries of others. I know that we present our discussion topics in a very respectful way, but I don't know if there's a way to really get out what people truly feel and to like get an education from that, learn from that. I think that would be more inspirational. It would inspire change a little bit more. We would recognize where we need to do a little bit more work as far as psychoeducation is concerned. Just getting at what people really feel about other people's choices is my last burning question. I don't know if there's a true way to do that without reading someone's mind, which is impossible. So that is my last question. And with that, as I always say, thank you for listening, everybody, and good luck with this and the rest of your classes. We are almost at graduation, some of us are. So congratulations on the progress that you've made so far, and I wish you the best of luck both before and after graduation. Thanks.